It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're getting ready for the holiday season, and I mostly mean that because A, we just spent forever talking about our schedules so we could keep the show going for the holiday, and B, a holiday special is coming out this week, and I think this is a good week to kick off Thanksgiving and Christmas movies for the rest of the season.
I know that you are still in the part of the show where you're reading off our list of things to come with this episode, and we haven't really gone into just like the riff-raff catch-up section.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the perfect opportunity for me to bring up that me and my wife have this rule that we allow ourselves to watch Christmas movies before Thanksgiving, only if they're just cheesy, schlocky, bad, just like cranked out by like Hallmark or something. That is
like most of them at this point. So
yes, exactly. And they were like, Hulu showed me one like October 31st, like brand new. So they were getting them out there before even November hit. But we've been watching like a couple of them, and I've noticed this kind of consistent theme across all of these where it looks like, and Chris, you would be familiar with this because you used to do this line of work. All of these movies look like they were shot by real estate agents.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a couple of things. I think since they rely so heavily on stock B-roll footage, they're trying to match their footage to B-roll instead of trying to match the B-roll to their movie. And on top of that, they have to get these kind of cheap shooting locations, which all seem to be like highly polished Airbnbs, right? Mm-hmm. So you always look like you're like in a staged environment, like staged as in like they're staging it to show it for a showing.
Nobody really lives there is what it feels like. I totally get what you're saying.
Yes, no, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So they all feel like lifeless, even though it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. And I should have taken a screenshot, but I had to rewind and pause it to point out to my wife. We were watching this one on Hulu that I think was like right off a Hallmark. It was something about big city woman moves to the country and like inherits a farm. Like, I'm not even joking. That was the plot.
Nice.
And they had this establishing shot of this totally fake farm where they had to composite all the pieces together. So you have like the house on the left, you can see like the brush mask layering in this like fake hedge, and then on the right hand side there's like this weird barn, but like all of the perspective lines and horizon lines are not merging together, and I'm just like, what is happening here? So, like I had to get up at the TV, and like I was using like my finger as like a pointer. It's like, you can see here this doesn't work, and it was just so this is my way of saying I'm having a fun time just watching these schlocky Christmas things, but looking forward to the more quality things that are to
Here's
come.
where I think the difference is, Mike. You're the only one actually watching the movies. I think everyone else puts these movies on in the quote-unquote background while they're decorating their trees. So I think there's a difference here. They know their audience. They're like, no one's really watching this. It's just there to say, hey, there's some fake snow. People are wearing their scarves and sweaters. There's Christmas trees around, and people are having a good time. But I appreciate you actually going through the details here and just ripping these apart. Like, I feel like you have your own cinema sins if I was sitting in there.
Oh, that would be fun.
Just a little clicker, and it just keeps going. So
do a little offshoot of the podcast every year. But sorry to interrupt your anyway, top of the show list.
It's fine. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Mike. Black Adam is in the red. And red is bad. I double-checked this on Google before I wrote this down to make sure that red was bad and not good. So
yeah, and also not to be confused with being in the black, which always sound bad, but it's good. It is actually good, which is really confusing.
Yeah, he's got red in his ledger. How about that?
Yeah,
we know that's bad. We all saw Avengers. Sony's going all in on live action Spider-Man TV spinoffs, not even Spider-Man. So I'm gonna before I need to say this out, so remember, remind me to bring up Pennyworth later, because this seems like a Batman situation all over again.
Oh my gosh, I saw a billboard or like something for Pennyworth the other day, like out in real life, reminding me that the show existed, and like the literal caption for the show is just like the story,
the origin of Batman's butler.
It's just like, I mean, I guess you got to put Batman somewhere in the title.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get people to watch it.
Well, so here's. So I've talked to death on this. I've listened to so many other podcasts about this, and really, if that's the best they could come up with, every one of them needs slapped in the face. Because like, couldn't you do like from the Batman files or from the case files of Gotham or something better than the origin of Batman's butler? So like, it doesn't tell you he's like some sort of like, spy, right, in World War II, like some sort of like really awesome cool dude who's like a quote unquote James Bond, if you will, of this. No, it makes you think he's going to like butler school or something. Like how do you take care of somebody's house? So
it's hard to buttle out there, man.
He is quote unquote taking care. I'm doing the my thumb across the throat thing of people taking out the trash.
There you go.
Air quotes. So yeah. Anyway, well, why are we all fucking Alfred Pennyworth? Anyway, so yes, it's the most wonderful time of year. This week, before we get into what we did watch, I want to talk about what I am planning to watch, Mike, because I know you're a digital guy. You're a digital guy. I am a physical person as I go back and revisit my home theater, right? Because we've talked about this, more data is on disc than streaming. So I've been buying movies, 4K movies, that had those high like streams. So like I got Dune on 4K because it was everything 4K is going under $10 this month, right? It's Black Friday coming up, Christmas. All these movies are dropping in price. So I'm like, I want to get Dune because I think Dune would be fantastic with the full immersion for that movie. I'm trying to get some other ones along the way, but one of the two movies I did pick up on 4K, even though I don't think these are gonna benefit from being in 4K, is one, Christmas Vacation, because I love Christmas Vacation, and two, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And if we've been doing this for 8 years now, and if anyone asks why Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, this movie is about getting home in time for Thanksgiving, and that is one of the few Thanksgiving movies we have, Mike. Other than probably there's like a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Chris, I am happy to inform you that I was treated to a trailer for a brand new Thanksgiving movie last night when we booted up Hulu, and it is called Pilgrim. And is
it a horror movie?
Well, it is a horror movie.
No.
And it's from the creators of like The Purge and something. Oh, and Happy Death Day. So it's got that dark sensibility, but also you can tell it's like cheesy because it's like these literal pilgrims show up to these people's Thanksgiving, and I think they're like delivering retribution or whatever. But they're dressed like the pilgrims are in like coloring books, right? They have like the very like silly straight hats and like the buckles, that's the only way you can like denote a pilgrim like visually, and that's exactly how they made them look. And so you have something else now that you can add to your Thanksgiving watch list.
No, I'm not doing that at all. And I looked it up, and that actually came out in 2019. So it looks
it's
like
on Hulu now.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. They're pushing it now. I always go back and think when you said horror and Thanksgiving, what was it? Eli Roth did that Thanksgiving horror trailer for the Grindhouse films with Rodriguez and Tarantino when they did the double. He did like a Thanksgiving movie trailer, and I always think about that one. We come back to that. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the new version has like an extra hour of cut footage from John Hughes' original like movie whenever he was putting it together. So I'm excited to see kind of what that extra stuff they took out of this movie, because I think I think it's R-rated because he does say the F word quite a bit at the lady at the car rental place. If you remember that. So I'm like, I wonder what other like bad or jokes are in here that they took out or things like that. So I'm excited to visit that on 4K. The other thing I got in the mail, because Amazon came to my house several times this week, was the new release of Pokemon Violet. And I've been talking about this quite a bit to people, whether they're going to listen to me or not. They may tune me right out, Mike.
And have you played it?
Yeah. Actually, I've played a lot of hours into this.
Great. I have a burning question that I need to ask you. I've been seeing clips.
Oh no!
Why is there a Pokemon that looks like a motorcycle? Please explain to me why there is a living motorcycle that you drive around. I'm so confused.
So there is a Pokemon called Cyclizar who is a riding Pokemon. Yep. Okay, this isn't even the weirdest one in the game. I'll tell you here in a second what the weirdest one I've come across in the game is. And then the legendaries on the cover, they turn into essentially they're instead of getting a bike, you have and using fly as a team, they give you a Pokemon you can ride, fly, and swim on. That's the whole point of this legendary, is for it to be your traversal mechanic in the game, because the game, unlike, you've played the older Pokemon games, they're very linear. They force you down a path and routes, and if you can't go that way, there's someone standing in your little block, right? And you're like, you can't come this way. You need to go the other way. And then when you come back on the other side, he's gone, and like, okay, well, you open this up. Well, this is completely open world, akin to like a Skyrim, if you will. So like you can literally, or Fallout. It reminds me of Fallout 4, because in Fallout 4, I accidentally walked into an area where people were like level 75 and I was like level 10, and they can just like beat your ass. So like this game is the same thing. You can actually go anywhere. Like within an hour of the tutorial, they're like, yeah, good luck. Hope you don't die out here, kind of thing, which is really fun. But yes, the weirdest Pokemon I've come across so far is one that looks like a car engine. It literally is just a car engine, Mike. Like I don't know what it's called. I just ran across it before getting on the show, but I'm like, why is this a car engine? And then later on, I come to find out they used it to create this big car Pokemon. So I'm like, well, this is they've run out of ideas for sure, but it's still fun to beat the hell out of a car with your other Pokemon.
Wow, I just Googled car engine Pokemon, and I have not parsed the article to see what it's called, but I am looking at it, and this is, never discount Japan's ability to be weird. And I'm so glad that we have not tampered down or caught up with them, because I can tell you what, if I was in charge of Pokemon, I never would have thought of making car parts or vehicles into Pokemon. That is wild.
Yeah. So the gameplay is pretty much the same. You catch, battle, level up, but like it just gives you free reign to do it at your own leisure, right? You can be super like I'm a grindy person, so I'm like over leveled by the time I get to a gym. But I could easily walk into something still stronger than me. So it's been fun. One of the cool parts about this is if you have friends who play, you can get online and you share the overworld together, right? One big map and you're both in it, or up to 4 people are in it. And they don't tether you to the same screen like old games do. Or like, you remember when you used to do couch co-op, you can only be on the same screen together because the game can't render. No, you can literally go anywhere. Like, you both have the same map and you can go anywhere at any time. Like, it doesn't matter at all what you're doing. So I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Like, you can literally just be in here, like throw up a Discord, chat and talk while you're playing Pokemon and doing different things. And the gimmick of Pokemon, Mike. There's 2 versions because you have to trade one to the other, right? You gotta have 2 versions to catch them all, because then they sell double the amount of copies. Actually, when you're playing together, all those exclusives spawn together in the game at the same time if you're running both versions. So there's no reason to actually own both versions. You just need a friend online to play it. So I think that's really, while the game is still, again, Pokemon, it is coming a long way in terms of like, hey, you can just goof around with your friends in this big world rather than having to do it by yourself and then go trade kind of remotely. It takes a connection out of it. Now I do wonder, again, someone brought up, how do you get that really long link cable? How am I going to run that across the country to whoever's doing it? But we know they don't do that anymore. They have Wi-Fi. But yeah, so I'd recommend, again, I'm several hours into Pokemon Violet. A good friend of mine, Brian, he's got Scarlet. We play both versions when they come out, so we can trade back and forth. On top of that, I don't have it in here, but God of War, right? Ragnarok. I've got another 10 hours into that. There's so many games this season, Mike. Did you get a drop into Warzone 2.0 yet?
Oh God, not yet. I have to I saw the install size. It's like 120 gigabytes.
Really?
I have to plan so far. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was a joke.
Oh,
but
mine's 68.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 68. I think you'll be fine. But it's still a lot. But yeah, I played a match, and same old Call of Duty, Mike. You're feeling good, you're doing great, then you get sniped from across the map. So you're like, oh, yeah, this is back at it.
Always somebody. Yeah, I Google it. It looks like it is 65 and a half. Still, yeah, that's quite a file.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game. I know you're running the new console as well, right, on PS5. It looks beautiful. Definitely feels I would say akin to, we have a friend of the show, Quentin, who plays Apex Legends. You guys can check him out. I'll put his thing in here for his streams, but like the loot is on the ground and those chests don't have the orange glow anymore for like when we used to play the first Warzone. It's more like this is natural and hope you find it in the environment. So very interesting. Anyway, video games, that's all I'm going to be doing all season to get me through While I'm not eating, I'll be playing video games. One of the two. Got to get that winter bod. But Mike, you dove back into a pandemic era movie that you kind of dug up. I don't know how you found it, but you dug it up after 2 years. Here.
Yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. So I was looking for just kind of like just a schlocky action movie I could just throw on the screen and not really pay attention to. And, nothing was really coming to mind. But then I remembered, oh, yeah, wasn't there like a Charlize Theron like Netflix original film that kind of like came out during the pandemic? I didn't remember anything about it. I didn't know what it was called. And I knew I heard some positive buzz from it when it came out, but then it just like disappeared into the ether, like all things on Netflix, right? So, I did my little search. I searched Charlize Theron on Netflix, and then bam, pops up The Old Guard. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. So I threw it on, and, it starts as you would expect it to. And I would use this as a time code jump right now. If you don't want the kind of premise of the movie spoiled, I would just jump ahead to our first topic here, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. You can see the time codes in our show notes or the little information little tab in your podcast app. But there's this delightful first act twist that totally changes the movie, because as before that, it just kind of seems like a squad of elite like Secret Service agents or whatever are out there in
Black
the world
Ops.
like doing good, exactly like Black Ops, right? So you get introduced to Charlize Theron and all of her crew, and they all get geared up and they go off on a mission to save like these kidnapped like African school children. And you're like, okay, wow. So they sneak into this base at night. They go down these steps and they enter this big empty room. These huge lights turn on, and then all of a sudden, all of them are like mowed down by automatic weapons. And I'm just like, wait, what? Because the way that they shoot it and the way they show it, no conceivable way any of these characters stay alive, right? And like I've seen enough film now where you can kind of tell if they're doing that thing right, where it's like, oh, isn't it crazy where we are? Let's flash back to see how we got here, because like none of these characters are redeemed. Like I wouldn't want a movie to end this way, so don't take me back. So I was like, what is happening here? I'm so confused. And then all of a sudden, guess what? They're all Wolverines basically. They all immortal. They can't die. The bullets pop out of their skin while all of these soldiers like turn around thinking that they did their job killing these other like mercenaries or whatever. Then they all get off the ground and they start like shooting them and chopping them up with like these like this ancient relic axe that Charlize is carrying around. I'm like, what is happening? And then it evolves into so much more. And I was surprised / not surprised to see by the end of the movie that this was based on a graphic novel, which makes total sense, because it's like, oh, they did all of the creative kind of heavy lifting and exploration already, in a comic book form. So when they went to adapt it, it worked out really, really well. And the director is the same woman who directed that new film, The Woman King, which I maybe was that a Netflix movie? I don't quite remember if it was
that the
or
one
not.
with
Viola Davis?
It was not. I think that went to theaters first.
Okay, but I know this one was kind of getting some critical buzz earlier this year, kind of when it came out. So the director is kind of going on to great things. And then when I told you I was watching this, I was pleasantly surprised when you told me that this was greenlit for a sequel. It's like, oh, this is great, because I was only like halfway through the movie, and I was like, I would definitely be down for a sequel. But I would just have to say that this movie does a really good job exploring what actually would it be like if you were immortal, right? How would you live your life? What would you do? What are some of the unfortunate downfalls of being immortal? Not necessarily like, oh, everyone gets old and dies, but more of like, oh, don't get captured, because the worst thing that can happen to you if you're captured or being immortal is to get captured, because you can't die, but also that means like you can rot in a cell or a chamber or a coffin for eternity or whatever. So that's kind of creepy, and it almost kind of gives you those like buried alive vibe stuff. So I would definitely recommend The Old Guard. Now, I'm not saying this is like a triple A, action movie, like, this is like going to go down in history, but there is definitely enough here to kind of build a franchise off of. I was pleasantly surprised by it, which I think is a lot of it too. I thought I was just going into something schlocky, but I was really happy to see.
Was it made for Netflix? I don't remember.
I don't know if it was
because it was exactly. It was a 2020 release.
Yeah, or like did they like acquire it or something?
Yeah. I definitely remember it. It was definitely a good time.
Yeah, it's fun. I would go check it out for sure if you just need something to watch on Netflix, and you'll have a great fun time. Looking forward to the sequel. They even kind of give you like a little teaser at the end to set it up. It's like the first time I've seen like a movie with like an after credit scene that actually is satisfying in a way of like, oh, I'm getting another one of these. I want to see this going. So yeah, I'd recommend The Old Guard. It's from 2020. Go check it out.
Yeah, and like I said, it's on Netflix. The green light, I was trying to look it up here. There's no date, but Uma Thurman was also cast in undisclosed roles for it. So it looks like it has been filming this year, and we should probably see it probably middle next year, right? It seems like a summer movie along the way. Speaking of holiday, or I guess seasonal movies, this week, Mike, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special finally coming out. All we know pretty much is that Kevin Bacon is in it from the trailer, and that's about it. I don't know what else to really prepare myself for. James Gunn has debunked anything about Silver Surfer being in this. I didn't even know he was a conversation to be in this. So it seems to be like a pretty good romp coming out this week, right?
Yeah, it seems to be heavily focused on Drax and Palm Keef, what's her character's name? Mantis.
Yeah, Mantis.
Maybe that's like the A storyline, and maybe there's like a B storyline with like Rocket and some of the other characters in space. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to catch it. Apparently, they were like, when did you come up with this idea, James Gunn? Because I think they're out doing like their press junkets or something for this. And Kevin Feige as well. He's like, apparently they threw it out as a joke while they were filming Guardians 3, and apparently James Gunn wrote it like the next like week, and they were like, okay. And this is the first piece that was greenlit for Disney Plus, by the way. Everything else was actually after this. So this was greenlit for Disney Plus, the Marvel first thing for that. So I think that was a pretty cool little tidbit, even though it's like the last thing we're seeing for Phase 4. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into this like little hour thing. I believe it comes out this Wednesday, right? That's what I have written down here. So we'll probably be talking about it next week a little bit, and what that means, quote unquote, the end of Phase 4, if you will. So it'll be pretty fun. But speaking of Christmas movies, even though there's like a version of Deadpool 2 where Deadpool's telling Fred Savage the story, right? And he's like Christmas. Apparently Ryan Reynolds reveals he's written a full script for a Deadpool Christmas movie as well, as his other ones. So that's pretty fun. I think that's pretty funny. If I'm gonna be...
Yeah, I mean, this could be a new trend rolling up, right? A couple years ago we got Krampus, the very violent Christmas movie, or maybe like the counter programming Christmas movie, if you will. And then you have the David Harbour one that's coming out this year. Don't remember what it's called. Was it Silent Night or?
It's Silent Night. Yeah, because I think it kicked off with Bad Santa, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like Christmas isn't as fun and happy as the holiday channels or whatever the Hallmark Channel makes you think it is, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, would Ryan Reynolds want to release an entire feature-length movie, or could he be convinced maybe, like, oh, no, we'll fund this and make it a special, hey, our Guardians of the Galaxy special worked out really, really well. We'd love to do that with you. So, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be interested in seeing something like that.
Yeah, I don't want a full feature, like half hour, 45 minutes of him goofing around, jumping through, retelling, holiday. Maybe I know Ryan Reynolds is in that movie Spirited that just came out, right, on Apple TV. So is it like he's doing like Deadpool's Christmas Carol or something silly like that? Because they love to parody that because it's out of copyright, so you can do that. It's not officially in production. This isn't a real movie by any means. But I think this is a pretty fun tidbit. The next bit of news I do have is tied to Deadpool 3, but they are rumored to be eyeing Channing Tatum for a role in this movie. Like Ryan Reynolds really wants him to be in this movie, but not Gambit, which is like what he really wanted to be as an X-Men for like years. like I think they were like what, a day or two before that movie rolled, and they were like, "Nah, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
sorry.
We're
doing Magic Mike 3 instead."
Yeah, I think we can all envision maybe like a one-off joke or comment about like maybe Channing Tatum trying to like throw like a card or something like that, just kind of a wink and a nod to what was, in our kind of purview, in our world, we know all about how he was going to be like Gambit, but there are Deadpool fans out there that would just be like, what? I don't understand this joke. I'm not on the internet constantly 24/7 like we are.
Yeah, but you forget the articles that would come out literally the week the movie comes out and be like, oh my God, did you catch the Channing Tatum reference or whatever? Because that's all they ever do on the internet these days. But I think he'll be fun. I think he's he's played goofy roles, but whether you like Kingsman 2 or not, he did play a pretty goofy role in that one, right? Whenever he was like, was he dancing or something like that? Like I forget what we thought he was gonna be a big role, then he was like doing nothing. He's like brain dead for most of the movie, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that'd be fun. I think there's a lot of opportunity in Deadpool 3 to reference everything Marvel related, whether it's Fox or MCU, because I think all the rights will have been over by that point. So that brings me to my next point, because there's another property that can reference every Marvel, like every Marvel movie ever made, Mike, and that is Avengers Secret Wars. And the rumor is Kevin Feige is looking to outdo Endgame's portal scene by including characters from the entire MCU multiverse. So like the movies that aren't in the MCU, like the old Spider-Mans, Daredevils, Fantastic Four. I've got the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman. The three that we know are going to be in Marvel movies, but like, or have been. But like this could go back even to include like maybe the robotic Howard the Duck, if they even
or
wanted
like
to.
What is it? Was David Hasselhoff Nick Fury at one point?
He was
in
David
time?
Hasselhoff. Yes, he was David. He was Nick Fury in the Fox Kids made for TV movie. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we all want another like splash page, comic book scene to portray itself on the big screen again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was an amazing scene in Endgame, right? But as long as they get the emotional connection to it as well, the reason why that scene is like so amazing is because like Cap is about to be like utterly obliviated by Thanos. His shield has just been broken in half. He's standing up to do this, I can do this all day type of thing. But we all know in the theater, he's like one punch in the skull away from being obliterated. Yeah. And then they just come out of nowhere and like, oh my God, I get goosebumps even just telling this out loud right now. So if they can find a way to recapture that moment, I think we can pay that off.
Like you said, you got to earn it, right? It's not like just throwing characters out to that. And honestly, Infinity War and Endgame should not have worked as well as they both did. If I can be completely honest, those movies are fantastic and they should not be that good. But the writers, again, we can give it to the Russo brothers, sure, but we got to get to Stephen Marcus and Christopher McFeely for writing those movies and making them cohesive and having them the stakes being earned, right? Like literally that whole fight scene with the Avengers compound blown up. They're like, you get to see Cap with the hammer for the first time. The whole scene's like, oh yeah, everything's going great, and then it's not, and then you're like, well, what's he gonna do? Oh yeah, the snap already happened, everybody can come back. But I think you're right. They have to earn this moment. You can't just be sticking characters in scenes without really, saying what's going on. But Secret Wars, I would say, with a title like Secret Wars, I think it carries more weight than Endgame does, right? Because we all have ideas what Secret Wars is, what Secret Wars was in the comic books, and what it could be. So it's going to carry a lot of weight, and I think it's going to have to shoulder that appropriately across this. So very, very excited. I would love to see, like you said, those obscure ones. Dolph Lundgren was the Punisher in 1989. There's really, really silly stuff they made for a while. But I'd love to see all the different Dooms, Doctor Dooms, come together and just like totally just fuck with each other. So it'd be cool. So next part, we're not going to discuss spoilers, but there are potential spoilers ahead. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the next Marvel movie hitting theaters in February, I believe 17th of next year. There have been some leaks of the Funko Pops for both Kang and MODOKs design for this upcoming movie, Mike. We know Kang is in it. We've seen him in the trailer. not as surprising. But MODOK, we saw in the leaked trailer, you and I both did, that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con. And if you want to see what he looks like in Funko form, you can click on this link, go through the spoiler alert pages on Instagram, and get a look at the Funko right there. I don't know if you've got it pulled up or not. I don't think it's too spoilery because we all know what MODOK looks like. But
yeah, I took a look, and also this is still, I think, hiding a little bit, right? Because if you're looking at this version of MODOK, which looks similar to the leak that you said correctly, it's very mechanical still. This looks like a helmet. I mean, if this kind of mechanical metal face came to life, it would still look really cool. It'd be kind of creepy, but it does indeed look like something is underneath there.
Yeah.
So it looks like we
shell.
could still get. Yeah, we still could get a reveal out of this character. And also, probably the biggest thing is, like, what is the voice of this character? It would be cool if it was Patton Oswalt. Like, if they brought him back to do the voice of MODOK, that would be fun. But we shall see. But yeah, it looks awesome. I'm starting to get the vibes that, like, maybe the Quantum Realm is the Quantum Realm the place where, like, everyone in the multiverse goes to, like, hide out, right? Maybe the Quantum Realm is a singular location that exists across the entire multiverse, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the multiverse that, Bizarro Captain America is from, or whatever, I don't know. It has its own quantum realm. Maybe it's just one that stretches underneath everything in existence, so that's where, like, all the bad guys or weirdos slip into when they're trying to, like, evade, like, the authorities in a way. So maybe that's why we'll see MODOK down there. Maybe that's why Kang's down there.
Yeah,
just on the unsavory types.
Well, and to me, it's running very parallel. The Quantum Realm is running very parallel to what's called the negative zone in the comic books, which is there's only one negative zone. It is a negative zone, and you can jump in and out of different universes from that negative zone kind of thing. So it's running really, really parallel to this. I think the other thing I would call out on this is, like, as you mentioned, his voice. It looks like if you look under his teeth, there's a voice modulator box. So I don't expect to see motion out of his mouth, if I'm going to be completely honest. It looks like he's kind of frozen, but I think it's cool. I think the Quantum Realm is. Like I said, this is really like the first Ant-Man movie with actual, like, stakes, right? Life or death at the end of it, because the other two are kind of just, one's a heist and the other one's it's also a heist. The other, like, they're all heists.
They're all basically heists.
Yeah, they're all heist movies, and that's fine. I just think, like we've always talked about, we know where it's going, but did it really do anything at the end of the day? But they also use the multiverse to figure out time travel in Endgame, so. But yeah, you can check out that link in our show notes and over to that Instagram post. But there are spoilers if you don't want to see what he looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I did not think would ever cross my radar again, unless they bring some of these people in for Endgame. But the rumor is Chloe Bennett has signed on to with Marvel to return as Quake in upcoming projects. Similar to how the Netflix characters are coming over, right? We don't have to mention their past. We don't have to mention their journeys. It's the same actor playing a similar variant in these roles.
Oh, I mean, if she's gonna come in there, I would love to see Clark Gregg.
Yeah.
Again, that would be amazing. And then also, if they want to just add more kind of superpowered people, what was, like, it was like the first, not the first, I don't remember what season it was, but there was is it Graviton? Is that his name?
Yeah, there was
yeah, he was the actor that was in Heroes.
Yep.
That's what I remember him from. He was in, like, one of the final seasons, and he gets, like, a whole super suit and everything. That was actually really cool. That actually worked really, really well, kind of on the smaller screen, if you will. So I would love to see some of that come back too.
Yeah, I think, Feige doesn't want to touch anything Jeff Loeb did with the 10-foot pole, but, if there's enough fan, sentiment, right, there's always opportunities. I think Graviton's cool. Clark Gregg would be a fun reference in, again, Secret Wars, right? A different variant of Agent Coulson gets to appear if they don't want to bring him back from the dead kind of thing. So there's opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, what characters are actually left that could see Clark Gregg and go, like, oh, nice to see you again. I guess Nick Fury would be the most obvious to see his friend again. Even though technically they did see each other in the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I think they're kind of saying that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon, so probably another multiverse.
Yeah, and even if it is canon, it can only be canon for, like, 2 seasons at most, because, like, the third, like, they start getting in, like, time travel and other like, AI universes and all this other crazy shit. So I'm like, they can only go so far before it is a variant. But yeah, I think Nick Fury, Maria Hill as well, right? Anybody in Shield. Thor's still around. Son of Cole. It was the first big guy, I guess, Iron Man 2, but he was in the Thor movie. The first Thor movie. I was trying to think who else. Banner, maybe. No, Natasha's dead. Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't know who's left. But it'd be fun. So back to this. Quake, the character, the front runners for the movie she could be in include Secret Invasion, right? Because she's known for being on Nick Fury's Black Ops squad in the comics. That's how she was introduced in Secret Invasion, and a comic book called Secret War, not Secret Wars. It was a more of a, again, in Black Ops mentioned. Thunderbolts or Captain America: New World Order would be something she could show up in. With knowing that Val is the leader of, or not leader, I guess a director of whatever governmental thing they have going on. Maybe it's, Department of Defense or Department of Damage Control. Maybe she's like I guess like a, I wouldn't say a guard dog, but maybe she's like someone she keeps in her pocket whenever she needs someone superpowered to show up along the way. So I do think they will probably not make her an Inhuman, Mike. I think that's out the window. I think Inhumans are that ship has sailed right out of there. Sad. Daredevil Born Again has some news. Have you the character White Tiger is rumored to appear in this upcoming Disney Plus series. Are you familiar with White Tiger at all? It's not Black Panther. It's White Tiger. It's entirely different.
I am not. Okay. There's lots of cats in the Daredevil world, isn't there? There's Hellcat, right?
Yeah.
Who's White Tiger?
Black Cat as well. White Tiger is a character of Hispanic descent who gets a mystical amulet handed to her with some powers from her grandfather.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking. This character looks familiar. Yeah, the white suit and like the ponytail and stuff. I've seen those characters around before.
She's in Marvel Snap is one of my favorite cards. She this character in the comic books was taken under Daredevil's wing. He said, "Hey, this is how you be a vigilante," kind of thing, right? So, comic book history with Daredevil to appear in this. The second to this rumor is that they're eyeing Jenny Ortega, who is most recently in the show Wednesday, the Addams Family series on Netflix. It's getting critically acclaimed. She was also in, what was it? I think it was not Pearl. It was that horror movie, the prequel to Pearl, whatever it was. And the other movie she was in was actually Iron Man 3 as the daughter of the vice president. Now, they probably won't make her that character. This is like a 10-second cameo kind of thing or role. But I think that'd be fine to have somebody, be in this role. I don't know if they're going to have her with the medallion or any superpowers, but, more. I think if you're doing 18 episodes, you're going to need more than just Daredevil and Kingpin the whole time.
Yeah, that's true. 18 episodes. I mean, that is like we've said before. That's the next step for Disney Plus, right? It's been working out well for Andor so far. Their 12th and final episode of season 1 will be this week. But trying to imagine Andor going 16 more episodes. I mean, I'd be down for it. But yeah, that's you gotta build in a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, there's characters. The other part of this is, with Echo rumored to be a part of it. She has her own show, Echo being a part of this, being from that Hispanic culture, right, that they kind of showed in Hawkeye a little bit. It could be some relation in that as well. So definitely they're leaning in some a very diverse cast for this, and I think that's fantastic that Marvel's, adding some visibility to other cultures. Speaking of other cultures, we'll just roll to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This movie is just raking in money, Mike. It's done over $200 million at the domestic box office. I think Thursday it crossed $200 million, so who knows what it's done this weekend. It's over $400 million worldwide, and I think it's got legs. We've talked about it, right? The first one has legs. I don't know if it has billion-dollar legs, but I believe that this has probably made its money back, right? Like, already.
Yeah, for historical context, I have the two pulled up. If you wanted to compare Wakanda Forever and track it alongside of Black Panther, which, is pointless to do right now because they have not been out for the same amount of time. But if you wanted to see where it's trying to catch up to, Wakanda Forever, domestic gross, like you said, is about $287 million. Black Panther got to 700 million, so they got a little ways to go there. Internationally, Wakanda Forever is at 258 million, and then it got to 464 million international. And then, so worldwide numbers, Black Panther was 1.3 bill, and we're about a half a bill for Wakanda Forever. So it's still working its way there. I'm basically just curious if it can recapture that same magic that the first Black Panther had. But that's not an indication of success, right? That was lightning in a bottle or whatever word you want to use. Right, so I'm just curious to see if it'll get there. That's all.
Yeah, I 100% don't think it will. I think there's diminishing returns on how culturally impactful that first one was. Right, like it was a huge advent of a superhero for a minority in America and across huge in other countries. I don't think we're just going to see that again. I think it could pick up.
It could pick up more for sure because we got 2 holidays to go through. A lot of family in town in the United States for Thanksgiving coming up this weekend. And then also you have the holidays. Maybe if you don't want to go see the Blue Aliens, you'll go see Wakanda Forever with your family. So
Avatar is not tracking to break any box office records this year, let alone overall. I mean, not to say that it won't, but I'm just, that was interesting. But I think Black Wakanda Forever won't, but I'm looking at it right now. I just updated my numbers. It's 550 million worldwide. That's huge. I mean, 2 weeks, right? Like that's. I'm sure the producers are happy with this number for sure. However, the other part of this is there are no plans for it to be on Disney Plus before the end of the year. Most windows, they said minimum 45. If this has got legs and it's making money, they're not going to put on Disney Plus. Before the end of the calendar year. I didn't even think 45 days was before the end of the calendar year, but it is.
Black Panther was in theaters for 45 weeks.
Yeah.
So this was before those kind of release changes. So we'll see how it goes. We'll keep y'all updated if we cross any big thresholds.
Black Panther was, I believe, in theaters when I remember they had Infinity War, right? You could watch Black Panther and Infinity War in 2 different screens across from each other. So it went on forever. But yeah, this is good for them. If we get the Disney Plus date, we'll let you guys know. On the flip side of that, Black Adam is not likely to turn a profit on its theatrical run. I think overall it has come into, I've got the stuff pulled up here. I believe it's only come into 400,000 maybe worldwide.
Worldwide, we're at 366.
Yeah. So even if if it gets to 400, they say the production on this was about 400 to 500 million to make it, which that's sad because it didn't feel like a $500 million movie, did it?
Half of it is probably Dwayne's budget. I mean, he is he's not
his
he's
protein.
Not cheap.
He needs his proteins.
It's just all his chicken breast. Yeah. That's what it all went into.
Chicken. You know how much it costs to ship weights, Mike, to filming locations?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Shipping's expensive. That's out of control. But so with this knowledge that it is not likely to turn a profit theatrically, the talks of a Black Adam 2 coming are still happening, and he will probably be a part of this new DCU with James Gunn and Peter Safran at the helm, but they're probably not going to greenlight a movie of this cost unless The Rock finances it himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you heard our review, I wasn't too excited about this film. Was not excited after I saw it either. But, I mean, I guess you got the character in the world now. You kind of did the groundwork, so throw him in a Shazam movie where he's supposed to be, right? Or put him in a Justice Society film. You got the character out there in the world. You don't have to make a Black Adam 2. Do what Marvel's been doing for 2 decades almost. Just throw him in somebody else's movie.
Well, they could do a Black Adam 2 kind of like how they did Godzilla versus Kong, right? It was just Kong 2, kind of a little bit. Yeah. They could be I guess it's a Black Adam 2 Shazam 3 kind of thing, combo. I don't know. I think there's an opportunity there, but you're right. He can't just keep doing this sad, lonesome protector of. It's not Wakanda. What's his name? Starts with a K. It's not Kamar Taj. That's Doctor Strange. Yeah. That's how exciting. That's how memorable the movie is. I think The Rock. Again, he's an infectious actor. He's a hype man. So I think there's some opportunity there. They did bring Superman back, right? Like everyone left the theater feeling good because Superman was there. So there's a huge opportunity, but like you said, like you can't burn that much money and just make a mediocre movie. You gotta rein it in a little bit. Less chicken breasts, right? Like maybe some more leafy greens. Maybe rent some weights locally. Don't ship your own over. But
just do cardio. It's free.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing cardio. I don't think that's building muscle. But anyway, so Black Adam, if something comes out, we'll let you know. On the same vein, in the DCU, Batman, David Zaslav, boo this man, boo, says there won't be 4 Batmen in the DCU going forward.
I saw this little note before we started recording, and I was like trying to count the Batman in my head. I was like, so we got Robert Pattinson, we got Ben Affleck,
Michael Keaton.
Who else am I missing? Michael Keaton. Well, who's the 4th one then? The supposed 4th one that might be out there in the world.
Let's see. Let's go through the movies here. Was it any TV show? Maybe Titans. Maybe
or was Christian Bale rumored to come back or something? Or
I think it was Titans. They had a Batman in Titans for a little bit, or maybe baby Batman in Pennyworth.
If Pennyworth makes it far enough down the road, we might get one there.
I think it was maybe he was referring to the type. Either way, it sounds like he is giving all authority and direction to the new directors of DC Studios, James Gunn, Peter Safran. Like maybe their plans, like, look, Marvel didn't have multiple versions, right? They kept it pretty straight. I mean, mind you, they did variants, they did stuff like that, but they earned that later. So maybe this is like, hey, we're just going to stick to one, and this is who we're going to be going forward based on what's coming. So I feel okay with that, right? Like, do you feel streamlining the number of Batman's going to help everybody? Like,
it's really hard to have a feeling. It's great to have officially 2 people named at the helm of the studio, right? But I think we said before when that news broke, it's going to take a couple years before we kind of get a clear idea of what's going to be happening. All I keep seeing, though, is in James Gunn's like social media, like replies or everywhere, everyone's just constantly asking him questions about what he's doing with the DC universe. Like, probably because he responded like once or twice, in the past. So now fans just think like, oh, this is a way to get our questions answered. But I don't know. I'm waiting patiently to see what'll happen.
Yeah, I am as well. I would say I'm a little more impatient because we only have the movies through next year, right? Like for DC, like, and there's 3. Shazam 2, Flash, and Aquaman 2. And we both know Flash has been through the ringer several times, dozen directors, now Ezra Miller. Aquaman 2 has been delayed several times, not due to anybody, but also, there's the Amber Heard stuff. How much is she really in there? So really the only movie that has no drama about it is this Shazam 2 movie, which is funny because, I didn't ever think we'd say we'd get 2 Shazam films in our lifetime. So I'm interested to see what they do with it, but how can they take what these 3 movies are and grow from there and do good? So I just want to know. I'm curious. It's more curiosity than anger. I'm not mad they're taking their time. I'm like, hey, show us your dry erase board. We want to know what your dry erase board looks like. Is it just did James Gunn take a photo of the one in Kevin Feige's office and just like started like scratching out like Iron Man with Batman and like just trying to do the same thing with different characters? No, he would do that. He's creative. Speaking of Superman, there is no writer or director attached to this upcoming Superman movie that everyone said that they're going to have after Black Adam came out. And Henry Cavill has not officially signed any deal yet because there is no plan. So while we are excited to see him, and hopefully he is coming back to movies because they are replacing him on The Witcher, and I don't think he's probably going to do an Enola Holmes 3 if they even do a third one. But, They haven't locked him down yet. They haven't put a ring on him.
That second Enola Holmes has been really popular. Obviously, it's been in the top 10 on Netflix since it dropped. But usually I'm not scrolling through Rotten Tomatoes, but I have been bouncing over there the last couple of days for unrelated reasons. But I think it's got a pretty good critical reception to that second one. So maybe that is Henry Cavill's future, just to be Sherlock Holmes in the background of Enola Holmes franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forget. I have to go look up the way that the Sherlock Holmes works. Like, he can't like wear a certain thing or say a certain thing for them to not get sued. So I think that's even funnier.
Enola Holmes 93% on Rotten Tomato. Is
that critical or audience?
Let's check here. That's critical. That's the tomato meter. Okay, 79% for the audience.
Well, I'll trust the audience. I don't know how many critics are getting the Netflix movie, so I trust the audience more on Netflix. That's pretty good.
You know, and even if you kind of like average someplace in the middle, it seems like it's worth the click.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So you can check that. 2 movies. You got 2 Enola Holmes movies. That's the same number of Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, if you really think about it.
Yeah, and you can tell the movie's popular too when the previous film in the franchise also starts trending in their top 10 section. So people are going back and watching the other stuff. So that's synergy, folks.
Yeah. Just looked it up. Looks fun. I'll have to possibly. Oh, this is a 2020 release on Netflix, Mike. This might be good as the old guard for you, and it already has a sequel. So sign you up. All right, this is going to be the weirdest part of the show, hands down. Sony has announced a Marvel Spider-Man live-action TV plan, and I use air quotes for the word plan here because they're turning Silk, Spider Society into a live-action TV series with more live-action Spider-Man adjacent characters getting TV shows later. We don't know who they are. We don't know what's going on. The only good news that came out of this, Mike, and I don't know how good this is that Phil Lord and Chris Miller are executive producers on these projects because of their success with, across Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, whatever they're all called. The first one is called, at least we haven't seen the second one. We don't know if it's going to be as good. I feel pretty confident. So the other part of this will debut first on MGM Plus, which is currently called Epix. MGM Plus isn't even out yet.
Oh, man.
And then move to Amazon Prime later. So you have to watch them live on one and then catch the syndication on another streaming service.
I didn't even know MGM owned Epix. And isn't MGM owned by Amazon Prime or Amazon in general? So is it all going to get condensed onto that platform? I'm not sure. I am torn. I am a world of two mics here right now because there's just a part of me that's just like consolidating Hollywood is bad. We want to increase competition and have more studios. But then there's the other side of me that's just like, no, this icky offbeat Spider-Man stuff, I don't want it. Just give it to Marvel so we can have like a proper kind of universe where things are taken seriously. Because like, even if, right, Sony has good intentions and hires good directors and good creatives, right, they are still siloed to a Spider-Man universe, right? Yeah. Like, in a perfect world, if, like, they would be throwing in, like, an actual Peter Parker, like, possibly even like Tom Holland into these like TV projects, have some like creative going back and forth there that leads up to like bigger movies, just like what Marvel is doing, right? But even they're siloed to what they can do. So every time I hear about these expanded Spider-Man projects, to me, it's just, I guess, all things entertainment is creative money making, right? But that's just what it feels like to me. Is like they sat down in a room. It's just like, hey, we still own the rights to Spider-Man, and we need to be making money off of it at all times because not only do we need to retain the rights, but we gotta, we're a studio, and this is our most popular IP. There's no reason we shouldn't be milking it for all it's worth. So I get it from the business side of things, but it's just like, I don't want to watch any of this stuff. It all seems icky.
Yeah. So again, much like with Venom and Morbius, there's no real attempt to elevate the content, right? I think if they tried to elevate those properties and make them something better than what they put out, I think there's opportunity for some of these Spider-Man characters. Again, sitting here, eating our cold crow from Andor, right? Things we didn't ask for. There's opportunity for this to be good. But at the same time, their historical success with Spider-Man spin-off characters doesn't feel good
Yes.
at all. So even with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, which have they had any successes lately that you know of?
So they did a live action series on Apple Plus called The After Party, which I have heard good things about. I've only seen like the first episode, and it was okay for me. I wasn't super into it, but I didn't have any strong opinions about it. So they have been in live action. They seem to be kind of like the darlings over at Sony. So it makes sense to put their name on it, right? Because they carry a cachet to them now. So yeah, I mean, I think that they could pull it off. It just depends on how involved that they actually are.
Yeah, because I'm looking at their movie list here. They did the Cocaine Bear movie that's coming out. You've heard about this one, right?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Mitchell's versus the Machines, which was last year, which I know everybody else. That's animated though. America the Motion Picture, that's animated. So they've not done anything live action themselves. These are executive producers, except for
America the Motion Picture is a good example of, I'm almost positive without even looking at the credits on it, that they are just executive producers. And that movie was bad. I hated that movie.
They are producers. They weren't executive. They were just regular producers on those.
Okay.
Just kind of like looking up here, like, TV, you said The After Party. Yeah. They did the showrunner director of all 8 episodes. So that's a plus on The After Party.
Yeah, that was wholeheartedly their show.
Yeah. I guess Miller of the Lord Miller did all that stuff. So there's some stuff, some episodes, they did the pilot episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, some stuff on Last Man on Earth, directed Last Man on Earth. So there's an opportunity, but I go back to my show notes here tab. I'm clicking all over the place. Angela Kang, who was a showrunner for The Walking Dead, because that show's ending, is going to be the showrunner for Silk. Walking Dead didn't get any better over time, right? It's one of those shows where I think the network is to blame, because they said this show is amazing sleeper hit, made us so much money in season 1. Let's literally double the episodes and half the budget for season 2. So that's why they always went back to that damn farm, remember? And everyone stopped watching in season 2 because they did that. So I think I can't really blame her. I don't think she was showing at that time. So that's a good name for a project that has never, they can't kill, literally, pun intended. But there's 900 characters. There's 900 plus characters in this catalog that they can mine. Silk, we've heard on and off for years, right? This is not the first time we talked about this character. I'm dreading this being mediocre and successful with just just because people see Spider-Man or something to it, and more random ass characters getting made into shows. That is my fear, that they're just going to keep doing this. But I could also see them, much like the was it Black and Silver movie getting canceled the week before it was supposed to film too, them literally getting gun shy right before this launches along the way. Do you think with Amazon, MGM Plus is a separate streaming service from Epix, and Amazon Prime also there? Do you think with Amazon being involved, it will have a higher quality to it, much like we've seen with The Boys or Invincible and other superhero properties?
I don't know. If I was an Amazon executive, I don't think I would take the risk on something expensive in this universe. It seems very risky, especially if you look out there at the reactions to things like Morbius, right?
But the dollars are there. That's the problem. You're like, we have Spider-Man. Yeah, of course in Morbius, but the Spider-Man money outweighs everything else, right? That's what that's the PowerPoint they're selling this with. Like, hey, did you see the billions of dollars Spider-Man made us? We can just throw you like a tenth of that and you're rich.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you just had to make this work against all odds, lean into everything that you can. I'm guessing that's not literally Peter Parker, because it seems like they're probably not going to be able to put that in their universe. Like, I don't know, maybe go really hard into Oscorp, because that's something that Marvel hasn't really tapped into. Yeah. So bring in your Norman Osborn, your Green Goblins, this whole big industrialized company that's taking over New York City. And I don't know, maybe do something around that, because that's probably the strongest pull you're going to get to the Spider-Man universe is going to be like an overarching Oscorp.
Yeah, they need. I think you're right, and I think they need to announce like 2, right, or 3, like a schedule of stuff. Maybe you don't need to go full MCU like universe, but like, hey, we're doing Silk Spider, or Silk, not Silk Spider, Silk, and like you mentioned, maybe. This is not what I want to see, but like for back like the Harry Osborn show, right? Like kind of thing, like Oscorp, the show kind of thing, and then another one like, oh hey, we're gonna do all 3 of these and gonna lead into something. And maybe this spins out of maybe they should have even said this spins out of our Madam Web movie we're making, right? That kicks off in cinema, then you can go pick it up on MGM Plus / Prime. But it seems like it's just like what we're feeling in the moment we want to make.
I will be absolutely straightforward and say, if there is something Marvel adjacent that is only available on Epix Plus,
MGM Plus,
I am not going out of my way on either of those things to watch them. If they show up on my Amazon Prime subscription, I'll watch them there, but so, I'm not going out of my way into those.
So I did pull up just to clarify for that, the Silk and the rest of the shows from the Sony will air on regular TV on MGM Plus. So MGM Plus is apparently like a live, kind of has a live component to this.
Like a cable channel?
Yes, kind of like that. And then be available on Prime Video after it debuts on this regular. I don't even know what the hell Epix or MGM Plus is, Mike. We haven't even seen it. So this is just very weird to say it out loud like that. But yeah, it sounds like they have like some sort of live element to these. MGM Plus, and then the cold watches will be on Prime Video, if you will. So, oh my God, what are they doing? I'm hitting my head against the microphone. It's just I don't like talking about this stuff because my head spins of how there's good, right? There's opportunity for good, but there's so much bad here along the way. They should hire us. We can make better decisions. Anyway, moving on. Indiana Jones 5. I'm just really surprised they haven't given this a subtitle yet. Like, right? Like, why are they still calling it Indiana Jones 5? Because all the other ones had better, really, really good. Even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had a good title. So
yeah, too bad they already used the title "The Last Crusade." I mean, that would have been a perfect title for this.
Yeah. The Last Crusade. We mean it this time.
Yes.
But
for real.
Yeah. I maybe they're hiding whatever this quote, whatever Indiana Jones MacGuffin is. But we've included a link to the Empire website to show the new cover. World exclusive, The Legend Returns, interviews, images, stuff like that coming up in the upcoming Empire magazine. Shows Harrison Ford back on the cover in his Indiana Jones garb. He just looks like an old man in someone who's cosplaying his younger days, right?
Surprise, surprise! Yeah. He looks like Indy.
Yeah, he looks just like he did in the last movie, which really didn't sell me too much. No offense on the look there. But if you scroll down, I think the second cover, right, the art, I guess the artist thing is shows Indy in a big city. It's supposed to be set in 1969. This movie, and it looks kind of like maybe like in New York, but there's like a big golden glow coming from everything. I don't know what this is, and this is very intriguing to me because it seems very outside of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you're so used to seeing him in, out into the wild set pieces, right? That's kind of where his whip and his smarts come in the most handy, right? So is this going to be like one of those things where he has to save the entire world? Do the stakes get that big or something? I'm not sure, but yeah, the concept art here on the second cover is a little bit more engaging, right? But like we mentioned the other week, right, I feel like Indy is more and more at home in an older version of the past, right? If this is going to be like 69, which is when we went to the moon, right? Is Indy what is Indy gonna look like next to a computer? Even if it's like an old computer like at NASA or something like that, right? Like, does that juxtaposition works out? It's kind of, it'll be interesting. I don't know. This is just gonna be such a, if nobody was alive when Indiana Jones 4 was announced and it came out, there was plenty of people saying, even then, we don't need this movie. We don't want it. Why are you making it? But of course, like all things IP, you gotta go see it. And then we saw it, and I've never rewatched it. I just watched it the one time in theaters, and I don't remember having hard, fast opinions about it at the time, but I remember the rest of the world did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe I need to go back and watch it and just see how my opinion has changed.
Well, I think the fun part about the older Indiana Jones movies, those are set like out in like jungles, like Amazon, things like mythic things that we've moved well beyond, right? You can't keep Indiana Jones, in the first two, in the third one, he kind of travels a little bit right into the desert. He's always been fighting Nazis, and apparently he's still fighting Nazis in this one.
Just can't get rid of those sons of bitches.
But we still got them today, Mike. We can't get rid of them. But we have Mads Mikkelsen obviously on the second link here, showing looking very menacing like a Nazi from the 60s.
Professional villain, that guy.
He is, but he was a hero in Rogue One, Mike. But he does play a hell of a villain, especially one with an accent. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to do. Like, he doesn't need to go to space, right? If you scroll down, you'll see the second image here. It looks like it might be a parade. Is that like, I don't want to say that's New York City there, but it looks like a presidential parade in New York, right? Like kind of thing. Like, it's going to be interesting to see Indiana Jones in America. Maybe that's the thing we've not seen, right? Like, he's never really been over here. He's always been in other countries, following the relics, right? Trying to get things in a museum.
Well, you probably had to do one of those things on an adventure, right? Where you swap the relic with another object on a weighted plate, and all he had on him was his passport. So he just left his U.S. passport and, in a cave somewhere, and he's like, oh, I just won't go back.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just going to stay here with the locals. But the other picture I did want to say, it's got Boyd Holbrook, which you remember most recently from your Predators rewatch here. I didn't look like him. I was like, I had to read the paragraph below it, but it is, he's got that. I'm excited to see this. I want to see the footage. I know there's a leaked trailer out there, right, from San Diego or one of the Comic-Cons. I'd like to watch it, but I want to see it, in its full action. I'd love to revisit Indiana Jones, but at the same time, like, not necessarily that he's aging up, but like, how do you bring him forward, without losing the mystique, the action adventure of the old days, right? Where he's on like a mine cart that's gonna fall apart at any second in something, or like he's watching people rip hearts out of still beating chests, right? I think I'm just only referencing the second movie, Temple of Doom, but like there's really good things, like he's drinking from the cup of Christ. There's elements of mysticism and religion and magic and even in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, science that or I guess extraterrestrial stuff that are part of this world, and it's hard to move forward whenever you have an idea of what it is. But I'm excited. I think Harrison Ford coming into Marvel is a huge big deal for us, right? As General Ross, and seeing his last outing as Indiana Jones will be interesting. So we'll keep you guys posted. I really hope a trailer comes out soon. I'd be interested to see what it looks like, especially if the Empire magazine's coming. So. That is the news for this week. That is it. This is time to go prep. I need to do some crunches, do my workouts now, so I can eat a lot later, right, for Thanksgiving. Depending on how many Thanksgivings you got, you're gonna have to do a lot of crunches in the meantime. So, Mike, if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, buddy?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, TikTok, and who knows, maybe Twitter. I don't know how many weeks I'm going to have to say that on the podcast, but each week it gets more dire, so it becomes more and more true.
Yeah. I'm not even there. You just find me on Instagram, Valdan87. It's pretty boring. I don't post a lot on there, but you can always reach out to me if you ever need to talk to me on there. Or you can reach out to the show. Mike, if people want to know more about the show, how they can reach us, where they get all the good episodes at, where can they find that information at?
Yeah, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the headquarters for all things Superhero Slate, superheroslate.com. Websites have never been more important than they are now with social media dying. Yeah. We got our awesome show notes up there. We got our upcoming release calendar. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. I'm going to have to rewrite this whole ending. Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We love you when you reach out. We're approaching the end of the year. We're all going to be very, very busy with the holidays. So stay in touch. Let us know what you're up to, what you're watching. And we love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of the show, like Superfan Jim, who reached out and congratulated us on our 400th episode. Appreciate that. That is super fan mentality right there. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
Yes, and we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.